The girl was frantically writing numbers. The teacher, puzzled, walked over to check and found the girl's paper covered in densely packed digits. The teacher reminded her, but the girl didn't respond at all, instead writing even more frenetically. Left with no choice, the teacher had to forcibly take the paper away. When she came to her senses, the girl wasn't angry, but silently walked out of the classroom and stared at the sun, seemingly lost in thought. Even when the teacher called her, she didn't respond. It wasn't until the school's anniversary that the girl's completed work was sealed underground as a gift for new students 50 years later. Linda, watching from outside, grew increasingly grim. When the teacher turned around to check again, Linda was gone. The balloons floating in the sky made it feel like Linda's departure was more than a simple exit. Indeed, Linda had disappeared. The school organized a search, but found no trace of her day or night. Just then, the teacher heard a noise in the school's basement. Opening the door, she was stunned. Linda was slumped on the ground, her hands covered in blood. She was still moving her fingers incessantly, and the door was covered in numbers. She kept repeating, "Stop, stop." The teacher felt a chill down her spine. In the blink of an eye, 50 years passed. The school unsealed the time capsule as agreed and began distributing the works inside as gifts for new students. The students were all excited, some receiving rocket designs, others flying saucer patterns. However, one boy looked a bit dejected, as he had only received a paper covered in numbers. As the boy puzzled over it, a figure in black suddenly appeared in the distance, staring intently at him. Carl was lost in thought when his classmates ran over. Seeing that Carl had gotten a piece of scrap paper full of numbers, they mocked him, calling him a loser. Carl didn't mind, but when he turned his head again, the figure in black had vanished. Carl felt these numbers weren't so simple, so he took the tattered paper home and told his father it might be a mathematical puzzle. At first, his father John paid it no mind, even using the paper as a coaster. But when he noticed a string of familiar numbers on the paper by chance, he decided to help his dejected son solve the puzzle. John was very sensitive to numbers and decided to investigate. He walked over to a nearby whiteboard and casually wrote a set of numbers, trying to find a pattern. His initial attempts had no effect. He tried several times until he saw an arrangement that looked like a date, September 11th. John curiously searched online, and the results shocked him. This was the date of the major 9/11 disaster. Even more bizarrely, the number 2,996 was the death toll from that catastrophe. Keep in mind, this letter had been sealed in 1959. Was it a coincidence? Or could someone predict the future? John was deeply drawn in by this discovery. He began writing all the numbers on the whiteboard and searching them one by one on the computer. Shockingly, the major disasters of the past few decades all corresponded to the numbers on the paper, whether the time, date, or death toll, all identical. In other words, the person who wrote these numbers seemed to have successfully predicted the times of all future disasters. However, after the death numbers, there were still some digits he couldn't yet understand, as if hiding a deeper secret. It all felt eerie and unsettling. This thrilling movie is called The Mystery Code,